Welcome everyone. Today I have a couple replays for you from the test server for version 1.24.1. Today we're looking at the new Tier 10 Polish tank destroyer, and this vehicle has a very unique mechanic to it. In a nutshell, this mechanic just simply means that the farther away you are from an enemy vehicle, the less damage you'll do to it, and the closer you are to it, the more damage you'll do to it with a single shot. The difference you fire at the enemy vehicle from makes an absolutely huge difference. This gun will actually do an average of 800 damage per shot if you're at 50 meters or less from your enemy target. But if you're greater than 500 meters away from your enemy, you're going to only do 300 damage per shot on average. That's a huge difference, and yes, that does scale in between a little bit. I've yet to really figure out exactly how, and the information I've seen is a little bit vague, but that's exactly one of the reasons why I decided to mess around with it on the test server a little bit. In this way too, you guys are able to see what it can do and make decisions for yourself as to if it's going to be any good. But from what I have seen, this vehicle is going to be an absolute beast from close range. It does have a decent amount of armor. It's hard to tell on the test server here because of course it's a test server. Everybody's firing premium rounds. They don't care about finances. They don't really care about winning or losing. They don't care about even tactics or anything like that. However, from longer ranges, it looks like it's going to be pretty terrible. Of course, your reload time stays the same regardless if you're doing 300 damage or 800 damage per shot, and the rest of your gun characteristics also stay the same. But this gun, from what I've seen playing it here, it does not feel like you're firing a gun that does 800 damage per shot. And by that, what I mean is that the gun handling is actually pretty decent. It feels like I'm firing a gun that should be doing 400 or 500 damage per shot, which makes sense because most of the time when you're combating an enemy, you're not going to be able to get within that 50 meter threshold. You're probably going to spend a lot of time at a couple hundred meters. I mean, think about it. Unless you're in the city fighting like I am right now, most of your shots are going to be a fairly long range. So yes, this thing is absolutely going to be situational. Sometimes it's going to be an extremely scary vehicle. It's also worth noting that only the tiers 8, 9, and 10 have this special mechanic. Oh, and by the way, perhaps I should have led with this, but the name of this mechanic is Deep Rifled Guns. If you actually looked inside the tip of the gun barrel, you'd see that it does look like a star shape, which makes sense because they use star tray shells. As you can see in this battle, there's some very weird tactics going on. Again, this is the test server, so nothing really makes sense, but you'll get to see another new feature that was added in this update as well, which is the post-mortem camera. I do like this new feature. It gives you a really nice overview of what happened to your vehicle and a chance for you to potentially learn from your mistakes a little bit more for next time. Also, yes, you do get the opportunity to use a sort of free camera after this whole scene is done, and you can skip to it as well if you'd like. It's pretty neat. Something else about this vehicle that is worth mentioning is that it has a very high shell velocity. The standard shells have 1700 meters per second, and the premium rounds have 2000 meters per second, making them the fastest traveling shells in the game. Perhaps that'll help make up for some of the terrible DPM this vehicle has at long range, because now with this higher shell velocity, you'll probably have a bit of an easier time hitting those moving targets at long range. Next up in this replay, you're going to see me fighting at a bit longer of a range, so you'll get a really good idea firsthand of how little damage these shells actually do when being fired at this longer range. I've only played 4 or 5 battles in this tank so far, all on the test server, and it's going to be really difficult for me to get a good idea of exactly how good this tank is, especially playing on the test server because everything is weird. Some of the information is given on your HUD that I've never ever used before, really, because there's not much reason to, except for maybe, especially in the old days in artillery, is that it does actually say on your HUD, if you look closely, the distance from the enemy vehicle you're aiming at. That information is going to come in very handy now because you're going to be able to use that as a reference and know how much damage you're going to be doing to an enemy vehicle. Maybe sometimes you can use that to bump yourself up a few extra meters closer to the enemy if you want to do a little bit more damage. I do find that value rather hard to see though, but I'm sure there's a mod for that, or maybe they'll make an improvement to that in the future. Anyway, I think that's about all the useful information I have to pass on to you now. Feel free to watch the rest of this replay if you want to get a good idea how this thing does at a longer range. It's not the most exciting replay ever. Like I said, I did 4 or 5 battles and picked the 2 best examples. If you want to know more about this update and the other changes that were made, feel free to check out either the World of Tanks portal, or you can check out the other videos I've uploaded at about the same time as this one, and you'll get a good idea of what is going on, some of the main features especially. Goodbye for now. Have a good one.